Hello. This playlist is going to be called Writing Process, and what it's going to be is a kind of play-by-play of the writing of my fourth novel as Christopher of Detroit, which is one of my pseudonyms. But I decided that I wanted to document the experience from the very beginning. So I will be posting videos sporadically. I don't know how often, it depends on how well the writing goes. But I'm going to start from the very basic ideation phase into kind of the organizing phase and the outlining phase, the writing time, different drafts, up into editing, and we'll see what happens from there. I may decide to publish it through my publishing company, or I may decide to go with another company. I'm not exactly sure yet, but I do want to document that whole process. So this entire thing, could last a year, 2 years. It's hard to say. I typically take about 2 years to write a book. My first book took a lot longer than that, but ever since that first book, I've been able to churn out something in about 2 years. So it could be 2 years, I don't know. It depends a lot on the circumstances of my life, and how easily this comes or not. But I think it will be fascinating if you're interested in writing, or if you're just interested in the creative process, because I'm not sure if you know, but my background is actually in craft. I went to a craft college, so my original kind of focus was in the book as an artifact. So I'm very fascinated by the idea of process. And as someone that also does visual art, aside from writing, I know that every creative project is a unique problem to be solved. And every time it's different. There are unique challenges, hurdles you got to get over, and I think this will be no different. I've written enough things now that there might be hurdles that I don't expect, but I hope I will anticipate them enough to not cause me a lot of writer's block and some problem trying to present videos in a timely manner. We'll see. But I want to just get this process down for those that might be interested in it. So I will start by saying, if you like any of this, you can do all the stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell. But I'm going to start first with just kind of describing the project, and then I'll go from there. So I'm about 95% sure this book is going to be called New Eleusis, and it's based off of the ancient Greek mystery schools, and I'll get into how I'm using that in a minute, but first I'm going to explain what that is. So the Eleusinian mysteries were ancient Greek religious rituals held annually in Eleusis near Athens. They were dedicated to Demeter and Persephone, celebrating the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The exact details of the ceremonies were kept secret, but participants believed they offered insight into the afterlife and the mysteries of existence. The initiation rites involved purification, processions, sacrifices, and the revealing of sacred objects and teachings. These mysteries held immense significance in Greek culture, offering hope of spiritual transformation and a deeper understanding of the divine. Okay, so when I say I'm using that, I'm using it actually as a plot device. I am going to try to describe this writing process without actually giving away the book, which is going to be a bit of a challenge. But I will say this. I got the initial idea for this book many years ago. Probably my third year in Korea or so it's been quite a long time. Initially, I thought it was going to be a book about my time being an expat, but since that initial idea, it's transformed a lot. It has mutated many times, and it's been this idea that's been in the back of my head for quite a while I was working on other projects. I've written 2 books on my own as Christopher of Detroit during this time, and I've also co-wrote a book with Eric Mortensen during this time. So this has been back there for a long time, maybe the longest I've ever had a project kind of floating around. And strangely, the name was the first thing that came, and that's usually not the case. I don't even know how I came up with the name. I think it might have just popped into my head after I had read something. I don't know, but I remember it hitting me, and I was like, this is a good idea for a title. It just sounds good. And initially, I was going to make it a kind of semi-sequel to my first novel about... my first novel is my most autobiographical, so this was going to be kind of an extension of that. But it was also going to have this kind of future narrative inside of it that was not autobiographical. But over the course of the years since I got the initial idea, I started realizing that it's going to be something different than that. I am going to take elements of my time over here and incorporate it in, but it's going to be much more fiction-like and less autobiographical. But I will say that it's going to be ambitious. I want to kind of create my own mythology in it. My hero is William Blake, and in his later books, he started creating his own mythology. And so maybe there's part of me that wants to emulate that. But, I mean, I really want this to be... I've had ideas in my other books that I expanded upon to a certain degree. I think they've all been kind of extensions of the previous one, where this one I want to be more monstrous, I guess, and just more in-depth. If you know Hermann Hesse, his book, The Glass Bead Game, is kind of like his magnum opus. And I've been thinking a lot about how you produce something like that. So maybe this is the wrong book to be showing everyone my ideation process, because maybe it'll be a complete failure. I don't know. But I'm trying to be ambitious with it, so we'll see. To start with, I'm going to say that it's going to be a blend of different genres. There's going to be a strong element of noir. I'm a big fan of kind of pulp fiction and noir. And I think my third novel had a lot of elements of that, so I'm going in that direction even more. But when I say noir, I don't mean like private investigator kind of thing. I mean more the atmosphere and the tropes. But it's probably not going to be in a city as we know it. So when I say that word noir, I mean it very loosely. There is going to be an element of erotica to it, but I think it's going to be more on the steamy side than the pornographic side. I want the limitations of trying to make it kind of hot but not pornographic. So I'm putting restraints on myself to kind of find that middle spot. And I definitely want to explore the uncanny. So there's going to be a lot that has to do with that, although I won't be discussing it a lot because I don't want to give away plot points of the book, but that is going to be an element. I'm thinking this kind of journey into the primal, like Joseph Conrad, like Heart of Darkness, or like the Odyssey, this kind of winding journey that goes into our own kind of darkness. But with that said, in this first video, I'm gonna talk a little bit about how I set up my process, and we'll get into that a little bit more. And then in my second video for this series, I'm going to talk about what I call the brick phase, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But first, I'm going to talk about when I first got the idea that I was going to do this for my next book. I decided that I wanted to write a blog post to gather my ideas and kind of pick and choose some of my influences and get my head around the story. So there's a link in the description with the blog post that I eventually wrote if you want to see what I was trying to go for. But my intention with that was to take all of these different ideas I had and try to articulate them into one kind of presentation. And I used it as a blog post to present it to the world, but I actually used it more to present it to myself, to figure out what the hell I was doing. Because at the beginning of a writing phase, you know, there's all kinds of different things you can be grabbing, and it's hard to know what to bring in and what to leave out. It's hard to, you know, when the idea first comes, it's very amorphous, and it takes a lot of process to get it into a manageable structure, let's say. So the blog post kind of helped me rein it all in. And through that, I realized basically what it's going to be. And then once I have that, then I start taking notes, lots of notes. And that's what I've been doing for the last 2 months or so. And I'm going to get into that more deeply in the next video. But what I want to say before this video ends is that each of these kind of snippets of my writing process are going to kind of focus on a special aspect of it. And hopefully, if you're interested in this, it will help you sort of see how hard it is to grasp these amorphous things and rein them in and tame it and struggle and get it to be what you want it to be. In my next video, I'm going to discuss what I call the brick phase, and it's kind of the time where I'm taking all these little snippets of things that I'm accumulating and I bring them all together. I will show you how I use the programs Scrivener, Microsoft Word, an Apple program called Notes, and Writer Plus, which is an app, a phone app, and how I use all those in the early stages to kind of organize my content. I will also touch a bit on notebooks and whiteboards and how I use those. And I'll also show you a little bit about how I'm developing my reading list, because whenever I'm working on a book, I'm always trying to read as many things as possible. So I'll also discuss that a bit in the next video. If you like what you see here, you can like, subscribe, all that stuff, or you can comment about anything. Although this was just kind of the introduction, there will be more meat in the next video. But that's all I got for today. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.